Welcome to the 131st episode of Flipped Learning Remixed podcast. I'm your host, Troy Cockrum, along with my co-host, Joan Brown.
Hello, good evening.
The Flipped Learning Remixed podcast is the podcast that mixes cutting-edge technology with learning. And tonight on the show, we wanted to discuss the upcoming Global Cardboard Challenge. Which is happening on October 10th and is sponsored by the Imagination Foundation and was inspired by Kane's Arcade, and I'm sure many of our listeners have seen that video. We brought on two great guests to talk about how teachers and administrators could start their own cardboard challenge. First we have Steve Auslander. Steve, could you tell us what your role in education is?
Sure. I am a fifth grade teacher in Indianapolis, Indiana, at a grade school called Allisonville Elementary School. And I am general ed, fifth grade, but I also run an Imagination chapter. This is my second year doing so. That is sponsored also by the Imagination Foundation. This will be my fourth cardboard challenge, and I'm really excited.
And then also we have Steve Sherman. Steve, can you tell us what it is that you do in education?
Sure. I'm Steve from Cape Town in South Africa, and I am the Chief Imagination Officer of an NGO that does math enrichment, extension, science communication. We like to spread the gospel of STEM and STEAM because we like to include arts as well. And we teach about 4,500 kids a week in schools around Cape Town and around the world, ranging from kindergarten up to grade 12. And I'm also in charge of running the Cape Town Imagination chapter, and this will be my second year of running the Imagination chapter, although the irony is our year never ended because our summer comes up in December, so we've just been continuing since the last one. So we've been running one long Imagination chapter, and this would probably be I've been doing the Global Cardboard Challenge ever since its inception, but also we've been doing the local versions and several local versions at different events as well. So I've probably done about 20 or so in the last couple of years.
And that's really what we should point out first, is that even if you cannot do the Global Cardboard Challenge on October 10th, you can certainly schedule and host your own cardboard challenge just in your classroom as you have time, because there's a lot of teachers who don't have the ability or the time to do it on October 10th, but still do great cardboard challenges in their classrooms. So.
Yeah, and the cardboard challenge culminates on the 10th, but I'm doing mine on October 1st. But you're totally right. You can do it anytime.
Can I start with someone who has not done a cardboard challenge and just sort of ask the question? Can you describe this to me? What is the cardboard challenge?
So. It's so open-ended. It can be anything you really want it to be. But the way I do it in my classroom is we make it similar to the Kane's Arcade video. My kids basically construct, they dream up and they plan out and they create cardboard arcade games. The first time I ever did it, it wasn't during the Global Cardboard Challenge because that wasn't a thing yet. But I'd seen the video. It was amazing, just as far as creativity and just something that I wanted to share with my students. So I made it a homework assignment and to watch the video. And a student messaged me on Edmodo and said, "We should do a cardboard challenge too, and we should connect it to math." And I said, "Yeah, let's do that. You've convinced me," even though I've always wanted to do it, of course, as well. But so we decided we would connect it to math. What we did was, instead of having people buy a fun pass or put a token in, we made math questions, I-STEP questions. It was right before I-STEP. This is how I justified building cardboard arcades right before I-STEP. Is the kids made math I-STEP questions, and we invited my friend's fifth grade class to play our arcade games, but instead of putting in a coin or buying a fun pass, they had to answer a math question. If they got it right, then they could shoot or roll. So basically, emulating Kane's Arcade, we built our own arcade games. But I've seen other people do other things. I know there's a class in Israel that build by theme. I think last year it was transportation. So some people built cars and roller skates, and you could do anything you want to do with the cardboard challenge. Yeah. This year we're doing it more as a fundraiser. We're selling fun passes to parents and people from the community.
Oh, very cool. So you're gonna it's a charity, basically.
Yeah, the kids have to give persuasive essays as to which charity we should support, and we voted for Tatum's Bags of Fun, and they support children with cancer here in the community. And Tatum, who started it, she's a middle schooler at West Lane, a local school. She's actually going to come to the Cardboard Challenge on Thursday and play arcades, which would be really fun.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
It sounds like your class would be just a blast. Did other students in the school want to come to your class?
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
I bet.
It's cool, though. What's really neat now is for the past couple of years, it's not just my class doing the Cardboard Challenge, it's the whole 5th grade. So every 5th grade student at Allisonville gets to participate in the Cardboard Challenge, and it's just great how it's spread.
Yeah. You spread the fever. That's good.
There you go.
I must just say that from our experience, what I have found interesting is, when we first started, we thought we would put this very formal structure in place and ask the children to make certain games, but we found that when they arrived, it depended on what tools they had. So, you'd think that a piece of cardboard and a large pair of scissors would be no problem to work with, but the younger kids couldn't actually cut the cardboard. So we then learned very, very quickly that certain things that we were hoping they would be able to build, it would take much longer, and it might need a couple of days, and we only had 2 hours, our little projects. And that's when the make-do or make-kido, depending on how you want to pronounce it, the tools, they came through, and the Imagination Foundation kindly sponsored and sent us some kits, and they are fantastic plastic little implements that you can't cut yourself on because they're very blunt, but they can easily cut through cardboard. And we had kids, when we first started, making arcades, a lot of the kids in South Africa, for example, they know very little about arcades. I mean, we have a few arcades in the malls, but it's not as big as it is in the US. So what we found is that we chose different themes for different events, and because it often happens during World Space Week, and we're very involved with NASA and other space projects, we felt that we would try and give it a bit of a spacey theme. And one year we made shadow puppets. So the kids actually put their favorite space aliens, whatever it was, that they used, and they put them onto sticks and rockets and whatever it was that they made, and then we used a projector to cast a light on the wall, and they were then able to hold up their little sticks and show their amazing artwork, the shadows, and some of them cut the inside of the actual pieces as well, so that the light would also go through and you'd have special artistic effects, which we thought was quite amazing. And then, of course, they've built rockets and satellites and anything that goes with it. And we've also done arcades as well, where the kids have to make games, and sometimes it's just cardboard, and sometimes it's bring any recycled goods to go with it as well. So you have to look at your target audience, who is primarily going to be there, what their skill sets are, and then you match the theme and the tools that you have with the audience that are going to be there. Obviously, if parents are going to be involved, that's one thing, but if kids are going to be involved, then you have to make sure that the types of things that they are building are not too complex if you are only giving them 2 hours to build. Some people give their kids a week or two, and they bring their almost finished product to the event and finalize it there. They do the painting and they do the touch-up jobs at the actual event. So it really does depend on the organizer and how you put the whole event together.
So, if I'm starting a cardboard challenge this year, what are some tips, or you've already mentioned a few, but what are some things that caught you by surprise that you wish you would have had a plan for, or had to solve on the spot?
So one thing that I've learned that going forward is, it seems silly, I think, but I tell my students so we're building tomorrow, and Thursday is our cardboard challenge event. I told my students they could not bring cardboard in before Monday, because on Monday around noon my room was taken over by cardboard, because the kids save and save and save, and if I let them bring it in a little early, it would have been taken over for a week and a half, and that's crazy. And another thing to really keep in mind is know how much like dumpster space you have in your school for like recyclable materials. Because last year we did it with the whole 5th grade, and so when we finally were ready to kind of break it down, the dumpster was full, and I had a classroom filled with cardboard, and I didn't know what to do. So I had some parents pull their SUVs, and one specifically took a bunch of it and took it home, and their son played with it all fall break, which was great. But that would be one thing to keep in mind. It's, you wouldn't think about this, but you need an exit plan for the cardboard as well as bringing it in.
Well, we have
Absolutely.
we have a cardboard recycle dumpster outside our school, and I was pulling cardboard out of it yesterday because they pick it up on Mondays, and so I was trying to get as much as I could out of it before they picked it up, because I knew when we started I'd be like, oh, let's go out and get the cardboard, and there wouldn't be any there. So
yeah. Oh, another thing that I didn't really think through the first time was the idea of prizes. So I didn't even think about that really, but with the cardboard challenge, if the kids make it arcade themed or like a fair game themed. Remember my first year when we invited my friend Josh Bowles. His students came to play. Some of the kids had like 2 liters of soda for prizes or candy, and so one of the kids came home from school with a 2-liter of like Pepsi and some candy, and the mom was like, she contacted my friend to say, is my daughter telling the truth? Did she really win? So we decided to not do any candy or prizes. Tickets are fine, or keeping track of high scores, but we decided to not do that for fear that the kids would go a little crazy with the candy. That's another little minor thing, but quite honestly, it's my favorite. If not my favorite, it's one of my favorite days of the school year. It's just amazing.
I have to ask the question.
What I do think,
just before you stop there, do you inform your custodial staff prior to this? I know I've done a lot of cardboard type projects, and it can be extremely messy.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to put up a sign that said, come back on Friday.
Yes, right. Go ahead, Steve.
what I've found is that for our events, prizes are very important. We're in the fortunate position where we've got little calculators or T-shirts and things, and we actually award prizes to, depending on how big the event is. If it's 30 or 40 kids, we actually give every child a prize, because I want everyone to be a winner. They've spent 2 hours working really hard on their projects, but in reality, when you've got 600 people, then it becomes a little bit different. So what I do recommend, which is quite important, is to have some form of judging process where you actually get them all to line up and display their products, and you have who come in to assist. So, for example, if we were doing it at the international, at the National Science Fair, and we had, let's say, an astronaut there, we would then get him to come around and have a look at some of the displays and ask the kids questions. And I think at the end of the day, when you look at the actual event, those kids are thoroughly enjoying playing with those cardboard boxes. They're not really interested in the world around them. They are so focused on that boat or that game that they are building, which to me is incredible, because there's a lot of learning that goes on in terms of how to put the structure together, and if it's not holding, what other problem-solving techniques are you going to use to try and get this part attached to that part, and of course, when you've got 3 or 4 people in your team, there's a lot. I think we should do this. No, I think we should do this. So at the end of their 2 hours of negotiation and engineering and real construction, you want to acknowledge the kind of effort that they've put into it. And so, I mean, you could give a consolation prize of candy if you felt the need. Maybe there's a sponsor on the day that says, listen, you guys can have water bottles or key rings or something small to give to each person. And I think that even if it's a sticker or a badge or a something, because that way they take home something small to say someone recognized and they thought that my designs were really, really cool. And even if you have their names up on a spreadsheet and you mention and acknowledge them and you maybe call them out in assembly the next day at school, you give them a sense that what they built was something very special. And to me, that's pretty much the main focus of the event. I mean, when I think to the Maker Fair that we had a couple of weeks ago in Cape Town, we had one kid who built the most, I mean, it was really, what could we call it? Armor, body armor. It was a nice little jacket with shoulder blades and possibly even a hat. But he spent 2 hours on it, and all he wanted to do was go up on that stage and show people what he had built. And the crowds obviously were there because they were looking at everything else and they were applauding. And that child said to us afterwards that he was so proud of the wonderful work that he did. And he was so excited to actually show it to the thousands of people. There must have been about 40 people watching, but it felt like thousands of people at the event who were watching this, and that made him feel very, very special. So sometimes even just getting a chance to parade, you know, when we did our cardboard fashion show, you know, all the kid hero suits out of cardboard, just to be on the parade and to walk up and down and have everyone applaud them, that in itself was the greatest prize. So, you know, I do think you need to have that sort of display or judging aspect to it, because that obviously does go a long way, and some kids take it quite seriously. But then you also have to award special prizes to the child that has worked the hardest, to the child that was smiling the whole time throughout the entire process, to the child that didn't cut themselves at all, to the child who did not paint the floor and their clothing while making their displays. And that's the other thing I do recommend. We don't allow paint. And the simple reason is because paint needs to dry, and kids in paint, when you have them in, let's say, a science center or a school hall, then you have to deal with the cleaning up of that stuff afterwards. But if you give them box tape, and you give them tools, and you give them the cardboard, they have to just make whatever they can with that. And their imaginations just run wild. And you don't actually have to have fancy paint and crayons, because you can hardly see it on cardboard anyway.
It's true. It's true.
So that was my 5 cents worth.
And Jones pulled up some pictures for the viewers to see of. Is this a recent cardboard challenge, Steve?
This was in March of last year at the National Science Festival. The kids were just given loads and loads of cardboard and toilet rolls and anything that they could find, and they had to make an arcade. And as you can see, it was quite a large audience there, and the kids were making balloon bombs and throwing it at the toilet rolls to try and knock them down. And here we have our French judge, JC. You see, we had quite a few international scientists at the event, so we made them judges because we wanted the kids to feel that they had special people involved. And here they were just simply throwing little balls of paper into the cups that were inserted within inside the actual box. and of course, if you got the ball into 2 cups, whatever, then you would win a certain number of tickets, which was pretty cool. And then this one here, they were flicking, I think he was flicking something at the wall. I'm not sure what it was. Some of these, it was almost like a diving board on a toilet roll, and then there was a roll of paper on it, and then you were given chopsticks, and you had to kind of flick the little piece of paper off the diving board and try and hit the little bird creatures and things that were drawn on the back of the cardboard. So some of the things were very basic, and you know, these were the 7- and 8-year-olds who were building these things, and some of them were a little bit more complex. Obviously, we had kids from 7 up to 13. So when you are judging, the judges obviously have to be sensitive to the fact that you've got young kids. This group over here of homeschoolers, they built a maze with bottle tops, and you had to roll the piece of paper ball round the maze and try and get it through to the other side, which was quite challenging because, you know, it didn't really have much of a border on the one part, and you had to go through the toilet roll. It was quite innovative in the way they had done it, and all they used was, you know, wood glue and bottle tops and a piece of cardboard and a toilet roll. And this, of course, is pinball, and they had taken rulers, and what they were doing is you would have to manually control the rulers and flick them on the sides, and you had a ball of paper. Oops, no problem. and they just had to try and hit some of the things, and then they wrote out the scores. And this is a panorama shot of, you know, all the kids in the process of their making. So, I mean, you could see that, you know, they were very busy. We had groups coming in and out, and this is also interesting that it wasn't just, you know, a case of, right, the teams are all in, the competition is now closed. We had people working on it, and then all of a sudden a school group of 100 kids would come past and go, can we do it too? We'd say, sure, come on in, grab some stuff from the pile, and make whatever you'd like. So it really was, you know, in the 2 or 3 hours that we were there, we probably processed between 300 and 400 kids.
You had a wonderful space there for that kind of activity where you're inviting more kids.
Makes all the difference. So at some of the events, we're very lucky. They cordon off an area and they put little baby picket fences around and say, that is your spot. And in some of the places, you know, we might get an outdoor area, which you've just got to be a bit careful of because it is weather dependent. But generally, a school hall, if you've got that kind of space, is ideal because you've got plenty of space and you can pick different areas to go and work, and kids are not overcrowded like we had it in that particular environment.
So, what are some of the more creative or ingenuity you've seen in this product?
I don't know about Steve, but I've seen the most incredible things. You know, I've seen a 3-year-old make a box look like a boat. And if I can find some of the photographs, I'll send it to you. But, you know, am I echoing a lot, Joe?
No, not you. I thought it was Troy. Sorry.
Yeah, Troy was echoing a bit.
So what I have found is that, you know, the kinds of things that kids build are quite incredible, where the imagination comes through. So, for example, you will get the standard, this is a little game where you're going to knock the pins over, and this is a game where you've got to throw the piece of paper through the hole, and those you expect. But then you get the one kid who makes this incredible pile. It's almost like an elasticated catapult, and you've got to try and knock. You know, they've just become very intuitive and inventive in terms of the kind of game that they've invented. Things you haven't seen before. You know, very unpredictable, and those are always a pleasure to see because I love, some of the kids, some of the kids in South Africa come from such impoverished backgrounds that they've never seen pinball. They've never been to an arcade before. They've never even, seen the basic games of throw a hoop onto a hook. So for some of those kids, when you mention arcade, they have no idea what you're talking about. So when we asked them to make games, they made, just the most incredible things. It was a piece of cardboard with toilet rolls, and there was a piece of paper, and the cardboard things were supposed to be soccer players, and they were playing soccer against each other. Now, they didn't think it through because you can't move the toilet rolls. They just felt that if you moved and tilted the cardboard, you could get the ball to move around. But then again, it depends on who's holding the cardboard. So those kinds of games I still thought were very creative for kids who've never been exposed to anything like that before. And they've come up with this. It really is a wonderful start. But then some kids came up with foosball. They've seen it before on TV. They've never seen a live one. And they tried to build it with chopsticks, and they put little characters on, and then they were flicking the little chopsticks on the side of the box, and the little paper ball was moving around. And they really showed that they had the ability to translate the idea of a picture that they'd seen before into a real project. When you've actually played foosball and you understand the dynamics of it, it's much easier to build. But when you've only ever seen a picture in a book, and then you start building something from concept to actual the practical game, that is a very difficult task to do. So those are the kind of things that impress me the most when I see kids coming up with things that I just know from my heart that was built with love and real care. And I think that some of these kids one day will become engineers, or will become scientists, or will go into building because we sparked that one interest. And this could have been the one, that light bulb moment that got them saying, I actually want to become an engineer. I want to become an architect because I think this is really, really cool. So that's one of the most important things to promote at a Global Cardboard Challenge, that it's not just about having fun, but it could also be discovering something that you're passionate about.
I was going to ask Stephen that same question from the administrator point of view. If I am looking for STEM connections, are you able to articulate how that really fits into the curriculum, having this Cardboard Challenge Day or week?
Well, so absolutely for STEM, there's all the engineering and the planning and putting it into creation, and then it didn't work. How can I fix it? There's so much problem solving, teamwork, logic. There's so much that you could put into that experience. But I also do a lot with persuasive writing. So my kids do commercials. Why they should come. They usually write a persuasive essay why you should come to the Cardboard Arcade, and then we podcast it and send it to parents. This year, a few kids tried experimenting with green screening and made some green screen commercials as well. So I do that as well. I do kind of the persuasive writing, and we did the persuasive writing speech to convince which charity we should support. We also were in IB school, International Baccalaureate, IB, and there's a lot of learner profiles and IB attitudes, such as empathy and we really want creativity. There's so many things that we're hitting on beyond just the academics as well. But for sure, there's so many great things. As Steve says, it's sparking their creativity and their curiosity, and who knows what the after effect of that will be. Plus, quite honestly, this makes school so much fun. I mean, the kids are so excited. They're so excited, and that can only be a good thing, to have the kids have that kind of a positive feeling about school.
That's right.
So why would somebody want to participate along with the Global Cardboard Challenge? I mean, we've said you can do it on your own if you don't have the time or whatnot, but why would you want to participate along with the Global Cardboard Challenge?
So last year, 40 countries, over 100,000 kids participated in the event. It's being part of something huge and global. And even if you don't Skype with another class and share your games, which you could do, and that would be amazing, but even if you just hop on Twitter and enter the hashtag Cardboard Challenge, you can show your kids, look, this class in Uganda made this. Look, this class in Israel made that. And you know you're part of it. It's just a neat experience to know that you're part of something global and big. And do you have anything you want to add to that, Steve?
Absolutely. I mean, as a global collaborator, someone that teaches with approximately 250 teachers from around the world, I think that the fact that you're not just a separate entity operating in your little city somewhere in the world, the fact that there are other people around the world doing the same thing, I think is wonderful. We definitely do try and connect via Skype or Google Hangout if we can, because it's a wonderful opportunity for kids to do cultural exchange and to share ideas and to see what other kids are coming up with. And I think that also it makes you feel like you're part of a bigger picture, and that even in your small little school, your ideas could be considered big ideas when you look at what other people are doing around the world. So it gives children a sense of accomplishment, that other children their own age are doing similar things, and that perhaps they are even on the right track from an educational point of view, that they're doing okay with their level of creativity and the wonderful ideas that they're coming up with. And
I see on the website they have a hashtag high five.
Yeah,
is that the one you follow? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Cardboard Challenge is the hashtag, but high five, let's say you come and visit my classroom, Joan, and you're amazed by this one kid's Pac-Man game where it's actually a cardboard Pac-Man that actually someone underneath the box is moving it with a popsicle stick, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. So you could take a picture of that child's game and say, this student had a great hashtag Cardboard Challenge, hashtag high five. You're giving them like a high five, and then it's like your way of saying, great job to that child. And then what I think the Imagination Foundation is doing this year, which is new, is they're looking at all the high fives during this Cardboard Challenge. I think they're selecting a couple to get prizes, because the Imagination Foundation has some sponsors like Make Do, like Steve was mentioning earlier, and Little Bits and Ozobots and several other things. And I think they're going to select some of the high five people from Twitter, and those kids will get prizes, I think.
That is correct.
Well, what I'm impressed with on the website is, say, maybe you don't want to do it this year, you're just not ready, but you can go visit. All of these are public. You can go visit a school, and I just clicked on one that's near me, and it says there's 500 participants. It's huge.
Correct. I mean, what I find fascinating is the marketing, the brand awareness of this event. One of Nirvan's friends has written the theme song for Kane's Arcade, and she also wrote the song for the Global Cardboard Challenge. And what happens is people are encouraged to put together a teaser video of like a commercial of what Cardboard Challenge is all about, and inviting people to join in. And then they also have a video that you put together which summarizes how your cardboard event went. And I think that we're giving out prizes to that as well. So there's just that, and I don't know if they've got them on the website. They might even have them in the archives. It's some lovely entries of some of the commercials that people have put together. We had fun with our kids doing green screen and getting them to pretend they were flying an airplane while they were in a cardboard box, showing all the different uses that a cardboard box could have.
That's fun.
And I think it really is a cool way to promote something that is good, clean fun. You can learn from it. You can actually enjoy yourself. It really does have incredible educational value, and they're not pushing buttons on a screen or touch screen. using their hands from a maker point of view, that to me is very exciting. That we're going old school. And you know what the irony is? That you can give a child a wonderful iPad game and they can play that app for hours and hours on end, but you let them go and build something with a cardboard thing, and I secretly think that they had far more fun building the cardboard.
Without question. Without question. Yeah, it's the low-tech piece that I think it makes it great, honestly.
So we've mentioned a couple times the Imagination Foundation, and then Steve just mentioned Nirvan. Can you tell the listeners what is the Imagination Foundation and who is Nirvan?
Okay, so from what I can gather, if you all know the Kane's Arcade video that went viral, money was raised for Kane's college fees, and they raised a significant amount of money, and then they went beyond what they were aiming for. So they took the surplus and they formed the Imagination Foundation. And as far as I know, it was Nirvan and I think Mike Galliard that got together and put the Imagination Foundation together, and they were looking to promote entrepreneurship and ingenuity and creativity, the kinds of things that Kane, the spirit that Kane embodied in the whole Kane's Arcade. And then it just started growing. Well, why don't we have events like the Cardboard Challenge? And then it became a global Cardboard Challenge. And of course, with Nirvan being involved in the whole thing, there was a follow-up to Kane's video and many speaking engagements and the type of people that the Imagination Foundation are connecting with. Sir Ken Robinson, there were people from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the guys who were building the Mars rovers. Just those kinds of people were tapping into what the Imagination Foundation were doing and were saying, this really is outstanding stuff. And then, of course, they launched the Imagination Chapters, which is a mini maker movement that is now based in 100 centers around the world, and it's just going to grow from there. So I think that if there was ever something that needed to be contagious, it would definitely be the Imagination Foundation. We like the fact that creativity is contagious, and we hope that they're going to spread this to every single person and every teacher, because we want to get some of that old school stuff back again. I think it really, really does make for better students and happier students and happier teachers. When we're not assessing and marking, we like to see kids happy.
And I'm scrolling through. There are a lot of pictures on here. Most of these are just pulled right from Twitter, from the Cardboard Challenge hashtag. So there are a lot of pictures of ideas of what students have built, and the amazing array here. I mean, some of these are just artistic renderings. Some of them are actual games. I see a complete Mayflower. It just it spans the gamut. It just goes everywhere for this. But I wanted to mention, just because I wanted to mention it, one thing that wasn't part of the Cardboard Challenge, but my school was involved in, was a cardboard regatta. And the kids had to build their own ship, and then on a Saturday, they all had to race it. And whoever actually didn't sink usually won. But that was a lot of fun, and they did that every year with elementary school kids.
And did they do that in...
Would cardboard stick? Obviously. I mean, the kinds of designs that they were going to build, if they were they doing a length of the pool or a width of the pool? I mean, how much time did they have to spend in the pool?
It's a pond, and they had to get across it. That's the only rule, and they all wore life jackets and rowed. and usually several of them made it across, because with enough duct tape and enough layers of cardboard, you can do it.
Wow. Well, do they do it in January just to give them more motivation to stay
They started the designs early, but then they built it usually in May.
Okay.
Now that's a nice idea. I'm going to put that in my head. I mean, I've always wanted to do and anything that floats competition at the local science or the National Science Fair. And I've always wanted to do it, with recycled goods, so they have bottles and things. But to do it with cardboard would be really interesting. I like that. Okay, now I've got an idea in my head. Cool. Very cool.
All right.
So Steve, could you tell the listeners how they can find out more about you? Do you guys blog? Do you have Twitter, things like that?
For me, my biggest tool would be Twitter. At S Auslander. That's at SAUSLANDER.
And for me, you could get me at Living Maths. And of course, in South Africa, we say maths, not math, because maths is short for mathematics. So there's an S on the end. And you can also visit our website on livingmaths.com. And we have loads and loads of resources. And of course, we're hopefully going to be interviewing Nirvan and Kane quite soon. So that we'll try and tie it. If we can get close to the event, that would be ideal. But it'll probably happen afterwards as well, where we're going to get to the essence of the cardboard challenge and what they've been up to. We were very fortunate to have Nirvan and Kane join us for one of our cardboard challenges, and they got to chat to the kids, and the kids were quite delighted to actually see Kane in real life after they'd just seen the YouTube video, and that was quite an exciting thing for them.
How did you get that to happen? That's amazing.
Well,
How did you set
don't
that
you
up?
know Nirvan?
Well, I've Skyped with Nirvan twice, but never Kane. That's crazy. That's
Well,
awesome.
it depends on who you know.
There you go.
But Nirvan is the person to speak to. Nirvan can help set that up, and I think
I've
to
met
actually
Nirvan twice, but Kane would be really cool.
Yeah, Kane is very cool.
Oh man! All right.
And check out the Imagination Foundation website as well, or the globalcardboardchallenge.com, I believe, is the
I think it's just
website.
cardboardchallenge.com.
It's
Is it Cardboard Challenge? Yes,
I'm
Cardboard
checking it
Challenge. Thanks, guys, for your times, especially you, Steve, coming to us at, 3 a.m. there in South Africa?
It's about 10 to 4 in the morning.
Yeah, it was 3 a.m. not anymore.
Right.
I'm just going to pretend that there's going to be a super blood moon coming out in a few minutes' time, and I'll go and watch it.
You're a hero.
Thank you.
So thanks again, guys, and check these guys out on Twitter during their cardboard challenge and see what cool things their kids are doing.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome. Thanks for having us. Bye.
Nice to talk to you.